Welcome to Maxill's Reality Corner. We have myself, Michelle, and Nicole here, and we are talking about debunking the myths about process challenging devices, also known as PCDs. We have had many inquiries, whether it is email, phone calls, in the Maxill IPAC department, asking if there was a recall on our PCD. Good news, there is no recall, as a PCD, when it is used as a load leader to challenge the load, is actually not a registered item. It is not part of the registration with Health Canada devices. Your sterilizer would be. Now, inside the PCD, where you're placing your type 5 and your BI, those of course are registered and have to meet the Canadian Standards Association. And oftentimes you will see that number or the ISO number of what the regulations are. However, the PCD itself is not a registered item. And Nicole is holding the PCD here. A lot of you have seen these or are using them. They come in different colors. When you are making your decision on using a process challenging device, you have the choice of the commercial one, or you could also do an in-office made. In-office made is you take a whole bunch of instruments, literally overstuff a bag, creating a challenge again for the type 5 chemical indicator and the BI that has been positioned tightly in the middle. One of the questions that was being asked not that long ago is more on the heat control. So one of the concerns or the myth that was going around is that the commercially made Maxill PCD was harboring too much heat. That's why Health Canada had recalled it. We've already obviously stated that there is no such thing as a recall on it, but it wouldn't be any different than this. So obviously if I have a whole bunch of metal instruments bunched together, that's also going to retain heat. So in essence, there's not much difference in the functional perspective of these two, but we certainly have a difference in the efficiency of how this one is used. And Nicole has brought some really good questions about what does fit inside the commercially made PCD.
So Maxill's PCD kind of replicates, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but it replicates the worst part of the internal mechanism of a high-speed handpiece, kind of where the ceramic bearings would sit. So it's designed to, if it can reach there, it would then challenge every aspect of what else goes in that sterilization load. It's a small barrel. We designed this barrel to replicate many different dynamics of BIs. So there's Patterson's BIs, there's Sinclair's BIs, there's 3M's BIs, They all will fit inside the internal mechanism of this PCD. No difference than the CIs as well. There's many variation of 3M's CIs that are kind of like a triangle shape. There's series that's a little bit longer. They all fit in there. You just have to maneuver certain ways to get both BI and CI to fit in Maxill's PCD. Some of the other dynamics is the threads. We've had a few offices call and the cap gets tightly woven down, and then when it goes through the sterilization process, there is by chance it gets tightened even further, and it makes it almost impossible to unscrew. My recommendation is maybe only screw the threads down one or two, place it in a sterilization pouch with your BI and CI, and sterilize per load. That's what's needed for this BI.
And it's an interesting discussion because we know that the topic of PCDs came out probably 2017, and before, well, really we weren't challenging the class 5 or type 5 or the BI. We were simply placing it somewhere in the load in a, I'm going to say, unique position to where we could maybe think the steam would not reach as much, or some offices were placing it in a bag, pouching it, somewhat of a challenge, but obviously we now realize that was not enough of a challenge. And you have to think, what's the task it's actually serving? So it's actually serving to create that larger piece of the challenge. And because you're using the class 5 and the BI, well, we know that the BI is done daily, but then for every load after that, the CI is going to continue to go inside that PCD. And that's where the load leader term comes into play. We have to monitor that load. That's also the one that is going to be recorded for quality assurance logging. So we're not recording every type 1, type 4, or type 5, say from our pouches, but we are indeed recording what is inside the barrel of the PCD. And I think it's interesting as well that we need to mimic what's happening. So we do suggest that that PCD also gets put in a pouch, right?
Right. And you also want to change where you're putting it from week to week, whether it's in the front of the autoclave, where the seal is. If it's going to fail, it's typically human operator error where you've got a pouch outside the sterilization parameters, maybe it's overloaded, maybe somebody bumps the door. If it's going to fail, it's going to fail in the front or at the back left corner where the drain is. So on Maxill's log, there's a location for PCD location. Myself, I write front to back and I switch it up every week. So if the sterilizer perhaps has an issue going on, you're going to detect it early, whether there's an issue with the seal or whether there's something going on where there's an air pocket possibly over the drain.
To help you debunking this myth, we do have a website link to Health Canada where you can actually look for medical devices, even products, whether it's related to medical, dental, or even other industries, and you're able to see what is actually listed as a recall product. And we are very happy to announce in our Reality Corner that by no way is there a recall in here, and that hopefully we have helped ease your mind and answer your questions in our Maxill segment of Reality Corner. Thank you.